2 days had passed since the storm, but Darius couldn't shake the image of Eleanor's pale face in the snow. The blizzard was gone, yet its echo stayed in him, a mix of fear, pride, and guilt. He'd saved a life, yes, but the $15 tip, the medicine, the pharmacy, all gone. Now his mother's cough had worsened. She tried to smile through it, sitting propped against worn pillows, whispering, "I'll be fine, mijo," between gasps that told another story. The air in their apartment smelled faintly of disinfectant, from the hospital where she worked, and exhaustion that no candle could hide. Darius sat at the kitchen table, staring at the business card Eleanor had left. Whitfield Industries, embossed gold letters, crisp white stock. The kind of card people in their neighborhood never saw unless it fell out of a rich man's pocket. On the back, a note written in graceful handwriting, "For the angel who saved me." E.W. He turned it over again and again, trying to decide whether to believe it meant anything. "Rich people say things they don't mean," his mother had said softly. "They thank you today and forget you tomorrow." Maybe. But something about Eleanor Whitfield hadn't felt like a woman who forgot. Then, that afternoon, Maria collapsed. Darius found her on the kitchen floor, gasping like a fish out of water, eyes wide with panic. "Mom!" he cried, dropping to his knees. Her skin burned hot. Her breath came in broken bursts. He'd read enough online to know. Pneumonia. He grabbed his phone, thumb hovering over 911, but froze. They had no insurance. No savings. An ambulance ride would mean debt they'd never escape. His other hand clutched the business card. It gleamed faintly in the kitchen light, like a lifeline. He didn't think. He just dialed. Whitfield Industries. "Executive offices, how may I direct your call?" Came a calm professional voice. I need to speak to Eleanor. She said to call if I ever needed help." "One moment." "Please." Music played. Soft, expensive, unreal against the wheezing sound of his mother's breathing. Then a man's voice came on. Urgent, strained. "Do you know where my mother is? Is she safe?" Darius blinked. "Your mother? This is Jonathan Whitfield, Eleanor Whitfield's son. We've been looking for her since the storm. Please, who is this? I found her 2 nights ago. She was hurt. I took her to my house. She's fine now." There was a sharp inhale on the line. "Thank God, she's been missing for 36 hours. You saved her. What's your name?" "Darius." "Darius Johnson." Darius Johnson. The name was repeated with the gravity of a promise. "You have no idea what you've done for me. Tell me, how can I repay you?" He looked down at his mother, struggling for air. His voice cracked. "Sir, my mom. She's sick, pneumonia. We can't afford help. What's your address?" Darius hesitated. "It's nothing fancy, just tell me." He gave the address. Jonathan's voice hardened with command. "Don't move. A medical team is already on its way." "And Darius?" "Yes?" "Thank you for saving my mother's life. Now let me save yours." And 20 minutes later, the sound of engines filled the street. Not sirens, but the low hum of black SUVs and a white medical van. The door burst open as a team in navy jackets rushed in, followed by a tall, silver-haired man whose presence filled the room. Jonathan Whitfield. He wasn't what Darius expected. There was power in him, yes, but also warmth. His expensive coat still dusted with snow, his eyes sharp with concern. "Mrs. Johnson?" he asked gently, kneeling beside the couch. "You're going to be all right. These are the best paramedics in the city." Within minutes, oxygen hissed, IV lines slid into place, monitors beeped softly. Darius stood frozen, watching strangers transform their living room into an emergency ward. When they lifted Maria onto the stretcher, Jonathan turned to him. "She's going to Northwestern Memorial. Private room, full treatment. You'll come with me." I can't pay for this," Darius said, shaking. Jonathan placed a hand on his shoulder. "You already have. You saved my mother when no one else did. That's a debt I can never repay." Outside, snow began to fall again. Softer this time, like a benediction. The next morning, sunlight streamed into a hospital room bigger than their entire apartment. Machines blinked quietly beside Maria's bed. For the first time in a week, she was breathing easily. Darius sat in a chair, hands folded, still half afraid it was a dream. Then the door opened and Jonathan entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a leather folder. "Good morning, Darius. How's your mom?" "She's better." Thank you, sir, really, Jonathan smiled. Don't thank me. Thank yourself. You made the right choice that night. Most people didn't. He sat, sliding the folder across the table. Tell me something, son. What do you want to do with your life? Darius blinked. I want to be an engineer, sir. I like fixing things. But college? He shrugged. Not happening. What if it could? Jonathan asked simply. Darius frowned. That's not how the world works where I'm from. Jonathan opened the folder. Inside were documents stamped with Northwestern University's crest. A full scholarship, he said. 4 years. Engineering program. Tuition, housing, books, all covered. Darius's mouth fell open. I don't understand. There's more. Jonathan laid out more pages. A monthly stipend, summer internships at Whitfield Industries, and a guaranteed job after graduation. Maria stirred, hearing the words, eyes wide with disbelief. Senor Whitfield, we can't accept. This isn't charity, Jonathan interrupted softly. It's recognition. You raised a son with courage and integrity. That's rarer than genius. He turned back to Darius. I've spent 20 years building projects for communities that never trusted people like me. But your choice, helping a stranger in the cold when no one else would, that's what leadership looks like. That's what I want representing Whitfield Industries. He pulled one final paper from the folder. A $25,000 fund for your family's immediate needs. New housing, insurance, everything covered. Darius felt his throat tighten. Why me, sir? There are smarter kids out there. Jonathan smiled. Intelligence can be taught. Character can't. For the first time, Darius couldn't speak. He looked at his mother, who had tears in her eyes, and finally whispered, Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Jonathan said, standing. Just promise me one thing. When you succeed, you'll go back and lift others the way you were lifted. Darius nodded. I promise. 6 months later, the south side looked different in summer sunlight. But Darius hadn't forgotten a single cracked sidewalk or peeling brick. He stepped out of a black sedan wearing a Northwestern jacket, a backpack slung over his shoulder. Neighbors stared, then smiled. Darius, look at you, college man. He laughed, hugging Mrs. Peterson from 3B. How you doing, ma'am? Inside the old community center, banners read, The Eleanor Whitfield Community Innovation Center. Grand opening. The place buzzed with energy. Parents, kids, workers, reporters, all gathered to see what one act of kindness had built. Maria stood near the podium in a navy blazer, tablet in hand, glowing with pride. You ready? She asked in Spanish. Still nervous, he admitted. She smiled. That's how you know it matters. The crowd hushed as Darius stepped forward. 6 months ago, he began, I was delivering food on a broken bike. I didn't have money or plans, just a promise to my mom that I'd take care of her. That night, I stopped to help someone I thought was a stranger. Turns out she changed my life. He clicked the projector. Renderings filled the screen. Bright buildings, solar roofs, green spaces. This center will give families free childcare, computer labs, and training for real jobs. Funded by the Whitfield Foundation. Designed by people from this community. Applause burst through the hall. Then the doors opened, and Eleanor Whitfield entered. Moving slowly with a walker, Jonathan at her side. The crowd fell silent. There he is, she said, eyes shining. My angel. She reached Darius, took his hand, and turned to the audience. This young man didn't just save my life, she said clearly. He reminded me that kindness still exists. If this neighborhood can raise someone like Darius Johnson, imagine what it can do with real opportunity. Tears shimmered in Maria's eyes as the applause thundered. Jonathan stepped forward. The Whitfield Foundation will fund 12 more centers like this one, each designed by students like Darius who know what their communities truly need. The crowd rose in ovation. Darius looked around, at faces filled with hope, at his mother's proud smile, at Eleanor's frail but radiant expression, and felt a quiet certainty settle in his heart. 1 year later, snow again. Another blizzard. Darius, now a college freshman, pedaled down the same street where everything had begun. The new bike gleamed beneath streetlights, but the purpose was the same: deliver hope. He volunteered at the center every week, distributing hot meals and blankets to anyone left outside. That night, he saw an elderly man huddled against a wall, shivering. A veteran's jacket hung from his shoulders, torn and soaked. Sir, are you okay? Darius asked, kneeling beside him. The man's voice was barely audible. Cold. Lost my way. Without hesitation, Darius took off his own northwestern jacket and wrapped it around him. Come on, he said gently. Let's get you somewhere warm. Across the street, a car idled. Inside sat Eleanor Whitfield, her memory fading but her heart clear. She watched through the glass, whispering, "That's my angel." Beside her, Jonathan nodded. "He learned your lesson, Mom." Eleanor smiled faintly. "No, he was born knowing it. We just gave him the tools." Later that night, the veteran sat warm and safe inside the center, and Darius began drafting a new proposal, the Robert Williams Veterans Engineering SC.